IB Microeconomics higher level students only. Today we'll study about revenue. So before this class, you guys should have learned product and cost. And for this class, we'll learn about total revenue, as I said before. So total revenue is simple. It is just the total expenditure that has been done for this firm, assuming that there is no tax or subsidy. It is simply calculated by price times quantity. So if you're looking at it by graphs, this would be given as a plotted, right? And if the quantity consumed is at its market equilibrium, it would be the area of this rectangle. I hope you guys know how to solve the area of the rectangle. It is just P times Q. Really simple, right? Now we have learned total TR. So now we'll learn AR, which is average revenue. Average revenue is simply the revenue per quantity. So it's total revenue divided by quantity, quantity output. Let me say output. So I told you that total revenue is just P times Q. So if we simplify that, AR would equal to price, right? So keep this in mind. And marginal revenue, you guys should know what marginal means by now. And to explain it again, it means incremental or additional revenue earned by selling one more unit of output. So it's by one more unit. I hope you guys remember from NP and NC. To calculate one more unit, you have to find the differences from the after and before. So the after, total revenue minus before total revenue. The same for quantity. After quantity output and before quantity output. It's really simple. And to write it simpler, we write delta TR over delta Q. With that in mind, let's do a recap. So marginal product is what? It's delta TP over delta Q, right? Or quantity of labor. And average product would be TP over Q, and TP would be PP, right? You guys should take your own time to fill out this table. It will be really helpful for you. So marginal cost would be, delta TC over delta Q. And then same TC over Q. Total cost. 뭐였지? 뭐였지?
ATC times 10 to the power of 9 TC.
Okay. TC is TC. 다시 시작해? And revenue, I've just told you, is delta TR over delta Q. AR would be the same. TR over Q, which is also P, right? And then total revenue would be P times Q. So really simple, remember this. So for revenue, the concept of price takers or price setters is really important. These concepts are determined by the market power of a firm. By market power, I mean the ability of the firms to control the market price of a product. So a firm may have an influence on the market price. So they may affect the market price or they may not. So if they have a significant market power, they would have downward sloping demand curve. And we would call these firms price setters or price makers. But for the firms that have no market power, they have horizontal demand curve. And I will explain this later, but for now, just remember it as that. And we call these firms price takers because they have no ability to influence the market price. This concept will be extremely important when you're learning about the market structures. Let's move on. So, in numerical situation, price takers have the same price and same average revenue, right? Which is because average revenue equals to price. And what is total revenue? It is P times Q. And marginal revenue is delta TR over delta Q, i.e. like that. So you guys should write this down to clear up. And let's fill up the gap. So total revenue in this case would be price times Q, so 10 times 2, right? So 20. And here 40, here 60. And then here marginal revenue is what? Is total revenue after minus before, right? So after is 10, before is 0. Divided by quantity after and before. So it's 10, right? And for this, it's 30 minus 20 over 3 minus 2, which is 10 again. And for this is 15 minus 40 over 5 minus 4, 10 again. You guys should know by now. It's 10 again, right? So there is a trend in marginal revenue. They have the same marginal revenue for all quantities. And I will explain it with using a graph. So remember these big features. Let's move on. We've seen that total marginal revenue and average revenue was the same for a price taker. So demand, I said that if there's no market power, the demand curve will be horizontal. And demand curve is also equals to price. Price is also equal to average revenue, which is also equal to marginal revenue. And this was proved using numbers. But for total revenue, it kept increasing for all quantity. So the total revenue curve would be upward sloping, and the rest would be a horizontal curve. And this point would be 10, because from the number. Okay, let's move on. For price setters, it's quite different because they have market power. Again, average revenue is equal to price. Total revenue is P times Q. And marginal revenue is delta TR over delta Q, which is the same as TR after TR before, Q after Q before. Total revenue in this case would be 30. In this case, 40. In this case, 42. In this case, 36. Simple math. And then this part, it will be after, before, right? This would be after, this would be before. So after minus before, and after minus before, and be this. So 6 over 1 is 6. And this, same, 42 minus 40, 6 minus 5 is 2, right? And for this, 40 minus 42 over 8 minus 7, which is negative 2. So as you can see, it becomes negative. That's why it is important to keep in mind that it is before minus after over before, after minus before over after minus before. And for the last one is 30 minus 36 over 10 minus 9, which is negative 6. So there is a trend in these numbers. So you can see from here, it decreases, kept decreasing, right? So marginal revenue keeps decreasing when quantity increases. And when quantity increases, price decreases, meaning that average revenue would decrease as well. Right? Yeah. So let's interpret it using graphs. Over here, you see a total revenue curve and a marginal revenue curve. So at this point, when quantity is 7, the marginal revenue equals to 0. Oh god, marginal revenue equals to 0. And at this point, total revenue is at its maximum. So when MR equals to 0, total revenue is maxed. And when marginal revenue is decreasing, total revenue increases, right? Is total revenue increases. And when marginal revenue decreases or goes under 0, total revenue decreases. This, I hope you can understand this diagram. It is because when marginal revenue becomes less than 0, this means that the revenue by producing one more unit is becoming negative. So there's no way a firm can make a positive increasing total revenue when marginal revenue is below 0. Let's look at the next curve. So in this diagram, you can see average revenue and marginal revenue. So average revenue is also P, right? Which is also equal to D. So this is important. And when marginal revenue would be the same, it also crosses the negative, it goes below. So, yeah. So we went through the revenue curves for price takers and price makers. And the fundamental difference between these two are the demand curve. As we've seen, price takers would have a horizontal demand curve. This is equal to AR. While price makers or price setters would have a downward sloping because they have an ability to change price. And for a review, I'll draw it again. So the marginal, So the price taker's demand curve would be horizontal. Their AR would be the same, and MR would be the same as well. But for price setters, their demand curve would still equal to average revenue, but their marginal revenue would also be downward sloping, and it crosses the x-axis, and it goes below zero. So these are the important features that you have to remember when you're drawing the revenue curves. Alright.